Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Attubato. I'm the Director of Counseling at the high school. It's very nice to meet you all. I had the pleasure to meet all the 8th graders. We met them actually back in November, if you recall. We had a field trip called Step Up Day, and 8th graders had the opportunity to see the high school. They met with students at the high school. They were able to check out a lot of the elective areas that we offer: art, business, music, computer science. So it was a great experience for us. It was the first year we've done that, so we hope to continue that in future years. And then we were down on February 1st to speak with 8th graders again. We provided the information I'm going to provide you all today. We also, yesterday, I don't know if anyone heard, but we had juniors and seniors from Burlington High School come here to the middle school, and they met with all the homerooms and talked a little bit about the high school. Again, lots of questions were asked, which is great. That's why we did it. And then hopefully everyone received the email from us from the high school about the course selection process. So today is really kind of an informal presentation, I guess. We're gonna obviously go over some things, but really we want to make sure you have the opportunity to ask any questions. But before I start, I'm going to ask Mr. Sullivan to come up, even though he just sat down. This is our principal at Burlington High. BCAT. It's BCAT. It's just for Joe on BCAT.
I was trying to signal you to tell you that this wasn't working. You're talking into nothing. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to thank you for coming out. We changed our process a little bit this year, so we typically would have had all families at the high school during the month of February to go over all of this with you. Ms. Purchase and the middle school staff, we worked closely with them over the last year to change the process, where we had the Step Up Day in the fall. So we had your son or daughter come to the high school, what was it, October now? When did we do it, October, November? November, where they got to tour the high school, meet with various departments, teachers and students that are involved in different programs or courses, really. So they met with the business, the art, the music department, and they got to kind of see what those classes look like, hear from students that have been involved in those experiences. So we hope that you all and your child got a better idea of what that might look like at the high school. So when they're reading the program of studies now, or when you're sitting down and talking to them about what kind of courses they want to take, you might have a better idea of what that might actually look like at the high school. We do encourage you to branch out, maybe try something different, even if you aren't into the arts or music. There are a lot of different opportunities that you could try. So push yourself, challenge yourself, and really step outside your comfort zone to take courses, even if you don't think you might like them, but just to try it, whether it's computer science, business. There are a lot of different options, but unfortunately there aren't not a lot of time to take stuff, so you're limited in what you can take. But we have tried to make half-year options instead of full year, so you could try different things. So please, I would encourage you to do that. So the middle school staff is great. They work closely with us during this process, so you could certainly continue to reach out to them here for questions during this process. But all the high school staff's also available for you. Just reach out, any questions, any concerns, whether it's about levels, courses, a 4-year track. We do encourage you to try to make a 4-year plan. Whatever it might be, just feel free to reach out with any questions, support that you might need. And thank you for coming out this morning.
Thank you. Ms. Purchase?
Good morning, everybody. I've got nothing to say. This is all about the high school, so enjoy. It's been a quick 3 years.
And I had a tropical shirt at home too, but I didn't get a chance to wear it. So a couple other things I just wanted you to be aware of before I go through the slideshow. First, the high school counseling department, I wanted to explain the structure of it. It's very similar to the middle school in that students are assigned a counselor as they come into the high school, and that will be the same counselor over the course of 4 years. We really like that model. It allows the counselors to get to know the students, the families, and we really kind of embrace that. So usually when you'll get a schedule sent home to you over the summer, and that would have the student's counselor on there, homeroom, classes, all that information would be coming in the summer. The other thing I'd like to mention also is we have an orientation. It's usually the third week in August for all incoming freshman students. That is really organized and orchestrated by our mentor program at the high school. So we have about 40 or 50 juniors and seniors that have been trained to mentor freshmen. And so they break up into small groups, maybe 5 to 10 freshmen per mentor, and they lead the tours. And then throughout the course of the school year, those mentors connect with freshmen on different topics throughout the year. So it's another way to try to ease that transition. And that, again, that's called our mentor program. You may have heard of it if you had older children go through the high school. All right, so I'm just going to kind of go over the slideshow. And then, again, if you have a question while I'm speaking, just raise your hand. It's totally fine. And then at the end, I'll answer any questions, or I'll try to answer questions. And again, everyone received this slideshow. It was in the email we sent. So you've probably already seen this. I'm not going to open up all these links. Students also received hard copies as well, hard copy information. Hopefully you saw some of it, but that was just, again, still some paper products. We still produce some paper, so I think it's good for students to actually see that. So students got a course selection guide. Years ago, it used to need a parent signature and send it back, but now we ask parents to go through the process on Aspen. So that's really a guide. It was, I think it was like a pink sheet. Does everyone remember seeing a pink sheet at home at one point or another? Yeah, I got a couple nods. So again, in case you didn't get it, it is linked up on the slideshow. And it really is, it's just a guide on what courses students should take. Program of studies, every year it is approved by the school committee, so it was approved in January. Program of studies is, as you probably are aware, it's just a booklet of all the courses we offer at the high school. And it's about 80 pages long, but at the same time, it really gives some great descriptions on courses. I always tell students, if you're going to be in a class for an entire year, I would read the description, just so you know what to expect. And so a lot of the high school folks really put a lot of time, effort, and energy into creating all the course descriptions, so I would highly encourage you to check that out. Again, hard copy sheets have been received, but the core courses and the elective courses. So I talked about the 80-page program of studies. We tried to make it as easy as possible. We gave separate sheets of the classes just that an incoming freshman could take. So you could see those as well, just to make it a little bit easier. And then linked to clubs and activities, we have another slide at the end that lists all our clubs and activities. But we have lots of opportunities for students to really, like Mr. Sullivan said, step outside their comfort zone, not just academically, but with clubs and activities. We have lots of opportunities. Opportunities can be created by students. I think every year, Mr. Sullivan will have students presenting a different club or activity idea to him in order to get a particular club going. And then our sports programs. We have great sports opportunities for students as well in the fall, winter, and spring. The other helpful links, so math is a little bit more complicated, just in the sense that English, everyone's taking freshman English. History, everyone's taking US 1. Math, there's different options, okay? And so we really try to give students and families the math department flowchart, okay? And these are suggested, it's a suggested pathway of courses, and we would ask you to check that out. Same with science, and I think also with math and science, students tend to sometimes want to take particular courses later in high school, sophomore, junior, senior year. So these pathways kind of give opportunities how you get to certain courses, okay? And then we do have a 4-year planner, and so we really encourage students to do this. It's not mandatory, we don't collect it, but if a student really wanted to try to map out all 4 years, they could do that. If they just wanted to map out the next 2 years, they could do that. So it's just a planner. It's a simple document. Students can make a copy of it, and just so they have an idea of kind of how to structure their classes. So right now, parents and students now have the ability to look at teacher recommendations. I'm not sure if anyone's done that yet, but you can actually see now in Aspen what courses, really course levels have been recommended for students for next year. And that is, again, within the Aspen program. And so it's either going to be college prep or honors. Please keep in mind both of the levels, college prep and honors, are preparing students for college. All right? We have students that take all college prep classes and they go off to college. Okay, we have students that mix it up, CP and honors, and then we have students that will do only honors. So it varies, and I know most of you are probably thinking which is better, which one to take, and I don't have an exact answer. Unfortunately, I can just tell you, based on my experience in past history, I really think hearing what the teacher has to say, the 8th grade teacher, in terms of a recommendation, if the recommendation is not, well, we've looked at the data. Usually they're right on. But if there's a concern, you would, as a parent and a student, would want to know why. So if a teacher is making a recommendation for CP or honors and you obviously have questions about that, I'd encourage you to talk to the teacher, all right? And also, if a student wanted to take honors, teacher recommends CP, we would ask you to talk to the teacher first. If at that point you still feel that you'd like your son or daughter to take in honors, we do have an override process as well. And really, it's just a document we'd have you read through and sign off. And basically what that says is you're going against the recommendation of the teacher, and that could potentially be problematic in the high school and if we had to make like a schedule change. All right, so that's just a heads up on that. So this kind of details differences between honors and college prep. Talking to honors teachers that teach specific honors courses, one of the things I hear too is attendance rate. That's a big piece. Students, obviously attendance is important at CP and honors, but just talking to the honors level teachers, they actually, I believe, this breakdown of CP and honors, I'm not going to read through every bullet, but our history chair, Mr. Witten, really put a lot of thought and effort, collaborated with a few other teachers on the breakdown of CP versus honors. And so we just want to make sure that students and parents are aware when you sign up for an honors what that means. And I hear a lot about attendance. They even tried to spell it out. Attendance rate of 95% or higher. And, in terms of the reading, if a student reads for joy, if they like to read, I hear that a lot as well, meaning honors English, honors history. If reading isn't something you necessarily enjoy, it's forced a little bit, that might lead to some potential issues, all right? So I would encourage you to take a look through the differences between CP and honors. And then the students actually pick up on this, and I should just say it because a couple kids asked yesterday, there is a difference in weighting of these courses, okay? So at the high school where the courses are leveled, they are given a weight, which is used to calculate something called a grade point average, GPA. All right, and so the way it works at the high school is any AP course would be given 5 points, a 5.0. Honors is 4.5, CP is 4.0. This is all in the program of studies. And I know that really it's not necessarily, I wouldn't want that to be the focus of this presentation, but it is a question that students ask. So the courses are weighted, just so everyone knows. And again, feel free to ask questions as I'm talking away here. Graduation requirements, we do a run through with students for graduation requirements. So a full year class at the high school is 5 credits, okay? So we require, as you can see, 20 credits of English. So Burlington High School students will take English every year. 4 years of math, 3 years of history, 3 years of science, and then 2 years of world language. And that 2 years has to be sequential, meaning if you take Spanish 1 freshman year, you need to take Spanish 2 sophomore year. You can't take Spanish 1, French 1. And then we also have something called exploratory requirements, which are basically like elective requirements. There's a block of courses that are considered exploratory, but it's a lot of courses. So my guess is students can find, most incoming freshmen, if not all, will be taking 5 credits of the exploratory right off the bat. And then we have for freshmen, incoming freshmen, they'll take PE for a semester and health for a semester. The other thing to make note of is our graduation requirements are in line with the Massachusetts public colleges and universities, meaning if a student, I would say all of our students kind of exceed these, meaning lots of our students will take a 4th year of science. They'll take a 4th year of history. They'll take 3 years of world language. This is kind of, this right here is matching the state, basically the Mass state schools. So if a student were to follow this sequence, they'd automatically be eligible, meeting the requirements of the Mass public colleges and universities. So the average student graduates with about 135 credits. You can see the requirement is 110. So there's a 25 credit swing there. And that is really some of the students that receive any kind of support services or tutoring or anything like that can do that without worry of not having enough credits to graduate. So we kind of build in that cushion. That was the course selection guide that I referenced. Again, I would encourage you to take a look at that. If it's not at home, just check out the slideshow and you can certainly download it. So this just talks about course changes. It happens. Students will have to make changes once the year starts. We do build our schedule, our high school schedule, based on requests. So everything is built and predicated on what the students are requesting. So the schedule's built off that. So, and that's done usually by late June. So what that means is if a student wants to make a change after that, it may not work because now the schedule's already been created. I do think for incoming freshmen, where a lot of the courses are offered at, they're offered in multiple periods, there's a high likelihood we could make it work. For what it's worth. But it does happen where a student is in a class that might be too hard. They're in over their head type of thing, and we would make a change. What we do in that case, though, is oftentimes the first week or 2 of school, some of the students panic a and they think, uh-oh, I'm in over my head. So we ask students, you have to stay in the class until the halfway point of the first quarter. And oftentimes, we don't hear from that student again. All right? So we really need them to try and stay in the class because someone recommended them for that, usually. So we want them to try to stay in the class. Elective changes we don't make. Once the year starts, students locked into the elective. All right, the high school schedule. What does it look like? I can tell you we start later. So right now, students are assigned homeroom. Do they have homeroom here? Do they go to homeroom in the morning? Yeah, okay, just checking. So we have homeroom as well. Students come in, they need to be in homeroom by 8:40. 8:40. This is off right now because I think we had changed at the beginning of the year. So 8:40 is homeroom, okay? And students come in, hear the announcements, bell rings and they're off. So we have, students have 7 classes at the high school. So they're choosing 7 classes: math, English, history, science, world language. Then they'll have gym 1 semester in health. So that's 6. And then the 7th class will be an elective, either 1 full or 2 half-year classes. So they have 7 classes. And just to further complicate this, we only go to 5 each day. So we drop 2. Okay? The classes are about 64 to 66 minutes long. All right? And we offer twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, and I think the middle school does something similar, a flex period. It's a 30-minute window of time on every Tuesday and every Thursday. We try to do class level assemblies during that time to not take away from instructional time. We offer advisory. I think the middle school does that as well, where they go over different topics throughout the course of the year. And then one of the other things we do is certain times of the year, actually just about every Tuesday, students can choose what they'd like to do. We give them options. We're finding a lot of students are using that for extra help, which is great. They can get extra help during the school day. Other teachers are doing some fun activities during that flex. And so students can participate in, I don't know, Mr. Sullivan, what's some of the activities? We got, what we're finding, in addition to the students having a good experience, is teachers are talking about stepping outside of comfort zones. Teachers, I'm learning things about teachers that I never knew, you know, some of the skills and things they can offer to the school. So it's a good opportunity there as well. So that is the schedule. And again, the way it will work, we're going to take all these student requests, and you have until March 6th. And this was said in the email, but I'll say it again. It's not a race. So if you go in today and sign up for an elective, you're not going to be ahead of someone that goes in March 6th at 11:59. All right? So take your time. Think about it. We're going to collect all the requests. We build the schedule. First week in July, right around 4th of July, you're going to get a schedule in the mail of the classes your son or daughter is enrolled in. It's not going to have the teacher name. It's not going to have the room numbers. It's just so you can see, all right, I know I'm going to have English period 1. We don't assign teachers in the homeroom to those to the first schedule because we still may make some adjustments. Beginning of August, you'll get a second schedule. And we try to get this to freshmen, especially before our orientation in late August. Second schedule has teacher's name, counselor name, and room number. So that second schedule is when you'll have that information. The other reason we send that first schedule, too, is if there was ever a conflict or a schedule issue, you could give us a call at the high school counseling office. We could have you come in and we could make an adjustment. So you can still make adjustments if needed. For example, the honors CP thing. Maybe you change your mind or your son or daughter changes their mind, okay? So you could have the opportunity to come in. Again, we have links to clubs and activities and sports. So we already know 14th is passed. So Mrs. Gibbons has already, or is in the process of reaching out to 8th graders and distributing information. We're going to do during an advisory block coming up in March. I'm going to come up and just walk around the advisory rooms and give kids an opportunity if they need to log into Aspen or if they have any questions, we can answer them. So we're going to do that during an advisory. I talked a little bit about the override process, Aspen issues. If you forgot your account, you can't access it, you would email aspen@bpsk12.org. One common issue I see happen is we'll get an email from a parent that their child can't sign up. Something's not working, meaning they can see it, but they can't finalize it. Please make note that it is done through the student account, not the family account. So you as a parent aren't making the selections. It should be your son or daughter making the selections with your help. So students have their own account. Just keep that in mind, okay? And then online, as I said, the actual going into Aspen and signing up for the classes, it takes, I don't know, 1 minute. It doesn't take long. It's really the thought process leading up to it. You don't want to be deciding when you're logged into Aspen, you know? So take your time. Think about it. Talk to your son or daughter. You know, see what they'd like to do. Electives seem to be, you know, deciding on levels in electives. Those are the big things that you're going to be probably talking about and thinking about. And Joe's a senior at the high school. Joe, do you have any advice to anyone about any of this?
Have your son or daughter pick classes they enjoy as they progress. Because I know my senior year you get to choose all the classes you want, and I love my classes this year. So.
What elective did you take freshman year?
Computer science.
Computer science, okay. So, again, it's a process where it's going to allow your son or daughter, again, to really think about next year. And if they don't like their elective, just remember, they still have 3 more years after that to decide. So we did have copies of the slideshow. Hopefully everyone got one. But again, this was emailed. I am going to stick around. Mr. Sullivan or I will answer any questions that you may have about anything at all. I'm sure I missed something. So please, does anyone have any questions?
The elective was for the entire year, right? When you picked the elective.
So the question is, are the electives for the entire year? And the answer to that is some are full year and some are half year. There's not many half-year electives, which tends to make things a little bit more difficult. Like public speaking is a freshman elective, and that's half year. You would just have to find another half year to balance that off.
You can switch between CP 1 year, like U.S. History CP, and doing World History honors, right?
Correct. Yes, you could. You're not stuck in any of those CP and honors pathways. You can choose to change. Yes.
Electives first come, first serve, like, 'cause I didn't see like a ranking of 1, 2, 3 or anything like that.
The electives for freshmen, most of the freshmen will get into their top choice. But through this process, they're going to have to put an alternate elective. Like computer science, for example, that Joe mentioned, we might be able to increase the class size, but previously we had, say, 20 terminals in that class, so we couldn't exceed 20. But again, most freshmen will get into their first choice electives. If not, they should have an alternative elective. And the way this process works is the priority for electives, depending on the elective, based on grade level. But most of the classes freshmen are signing up for are freshman electives, so we don't see that much of an issue. So I would just encourage you, when you're thinking about electives, think about 2 or 3 and prioritize. In Aspen, you can list, here's my primary and then alternates.
Okay, question on PE, health. Are they different semesters or the same semester?
So PE and health. PE is 1 semester and health is another semester. And I'm going to explain something else with that. I don't want to overly confuse everyone. But actually, PE, you got to figure we have 7 days in our cycle, right? They only go to 5 each day. But with PE and health, they only go 4 times out of the cycle, not 5 like every other class. That extra period is a study period. So they actually have the flex, and then they'll have 1 per cycle, 1 60-minute study period, which is an opportunity for students to get extra help to do homework. I think a lot of them do homework, to be honest with you. But then there's also things like Science Center, which at the high school, I don't know if you've had any interactions with Ms. Pavlicek over the years. We house a Science Center. I think we're one of a few high schools in the state that house actual animals. We have snakes, alligator, hawk. What else? All sorts of stuff. So we have students that work there and get credit for it. Clean cages, take animals home, all that stuff. So that could be another way to use that 1 free period a week. But again, and then we have a tutoring program at the high school too for any student. Some students will meet with a tutor during that time period. Yes?
Is there a community service requirement too?
We do not have a community service requirement. We have opportunities and options. If students want to pursue that, we would encourage it, but we don't actually require it. Yes?
Yeah, how many students are typically in say, a math or an English class?
I would say for an incoming freshman class, I mean, I could tell you our class average is around like 13 to 15. But that's, I think, because junior and senior year, as you get into electives, some tend to be a little smaller. So I think if I just looked at like freshman core classes, it might be a little higher than that, maybe 15, 17. But it's not, we would never exceed in any of our classes 26 students. And that's something, you know, I've been here since 2002. And if we ever go over on 20, besides PE, they can go up to 30. If we go over 26, we would really look at splitting that class. And it's actually part of the teachers' union contract to, when possible, not exceed 26. But it works out for the students, I think.
When do the club schedules get communicated just to make sure there isn't conflict if you want to take one?
Yeah, it's a good question. Clubs and activities, besides, you know, sharing a link, how do they know, how can they talk to someone? So the second week of school? The end of September. End of September, we have an activity fair. And, you know, just picture this cafeteria, except tables are kind of around the perimeter, and it's full. All the clubs and activities set up tables. It's pretty cool, and students can walk around, sign up, see what the time commitment would be for different clubs and activities. A lot of our clubs and activities don't meet every day. You know what I mean? It's usually once or twice a month, depending on the club or activity. Like robotics, I think, is a little cyclical because they're preparing for a competition. But you know, the activity fair is a real good opportunity to see, all right, what can I do, what can I fit in my schedule, especially if a student plays sports. But most of our athletes also participate in clubs and activities. Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about college prep versus honors in studies?
So we have the breakdown on the slideshow, but I just think in terms of rigor, the honors I think is going to be more rigorous. Again, not to say CP isn't going to be a challenge for some students, but I think it really depends on the student's ability and what the teacher recommends. So I think the honors is going to be probably homework expectations. Reading is going to be probably higher. If a student likes to read for the joy of reading, that's one of the things that we've heard from our honors English and history folks is that if students read for pleasure, then they're probably going to be likely to be more successful in an honors. Attendance is a big piece in the honors level course as well. They actually spell it out in the descriptions. They feel 95% or higher is really needed to be successful in the honors courses. But again, I would lean on the teacher for the recommendation. And keep in mind, they're taking 7 classes, but one will be an elective, and then one is PE and health. So I think, you know, in terms of managing a whole schedule, I think those are some breaks within the schedule for students. Excuse me? Yeah, off PE and health. Yep, 1 per cycle. So when I say cycle, we rotate our schedule over 7 school days. So once every 7 school days, they'll have a 60-minute study, freshman year.
For ELA and for social studies, what's the best way to get an estimate of how many hours of homework there is for these 2 courses?
Well, I would say that you would probably talk to the chair of that department. They might be able to give you a more specific answer to that. I've heard up to an hour a night, but 30 minutes to an hour, but we don't have anything in writing on that. So I would encourage you to talk to the department heads of those specific departments. All right, I'm going to stick around if anybody wants to ask a question not publicly on BCAT. I'll stick around. Thank you.